Let's go to Brian in Orlando. Brian, you're on News 96.5. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you for taking my call. I've been listening to the trial. I've been following this situation for a long time, and I've never heard anyone really make the statement or that I'm about to make. And so my question is, one, I want to know if the state is going about this the wrong way. And the reason I say that is you have the defense. The defense is trying to make the case that Trayvon Martin was beating up George Zimmerman so bad that George Zimmerman, had to shoot him to defend himself.
Got it. Yes.
And now the state, I feel like, is right now kind of caught up in trying to show that Trayvon wasn't beating him up that badly. The reason I think, and I'm asking, is this the wrong way to go about it, is because my question would be, if George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin did get in an altercation, George Zimmerman did say that at some point in time he felt like Trayvon Martin saw his gun. If that's true, then if I put myself in that position, if I fought with someone, if I was in an altercation with someone who had a gun and we're having a little tussle, and at some point in time I realize the guy that I'm fighting with has a gun,
right,
then I would be fighting for my life at that particular time. So what I'm thinking is, instead of trying to say Trayvon wasn't beating George Zimmerman up that badly or whatever, actually, you know what? Maybe if they embrace it, say, you know what? Yeah, Trayvon might have been hitting his head into the cement. Maybe that was going on. But George Zimmerman said himself that at some point in time, Trayvon Martin realized he had a gun.
Got it. So what Brian is saying, at some point in time, no matter what was going on, Trayvon sees a gun, and now all of a sudden Trayvon is fighting for his life, which may be a reason to be banging George's head against the sidewalk.
Right.
So, by the way, Rob, what has George Zimmerman been charged with? Excuse my ignorance.
He's been charged with second-degree murder, a charge, when we talk about when we come back, that had left many of us scratching our heads. So that's part and parcel of the question this person has asked.
Okay. Rob, we got time, just enough time for, I think, a couple of things. One is, talk about George Zimmerman has been tried with second-degree murder. Your thoughts about that?
Right. I think that was a decision that caught many of us by surprise because it requires a showing of a depraved mental state, whereas manslaughter is a lesser charge. It doesn't require that. It requires still a absence of regard for life. So the state chose a difficult charge in the first place. And one of the last caller raised a very interesting point, which is one that I'm kind of surprised has not come up more often, which is, does it really matter after a while who's beaten on who? If in the first instance somebody engages in an act that's so culpably negligent, to use a terminology in the manslaughter statute, that it could potentially lead to an incident like this and the death of somebody. And that's what I think a lot of us thought this case would be about. Not about who was the last person to throw a punch, but the decision in the first place to follow somebody around with a gun on a wet, rainy night and to provoke the possibility that an untoward event could occur. That's the case I thought they would be making.
But that's not a second-degree murder case.
That's not a second-degree murder. Okay. And more importantly, I might add, the way the case was started by the state was, this is the key line that stood out from the opening statement. George Zimmerman shot and killed Trayvon Martin because he wanted to. It's an
Rob,
intent.
we only got 1 minute. I wish we get more calls, but I want to understand. First-degree murder is when you actually plan to murder somebody. You know what you're going to do. You set it all up.
That's first. Yeah, excuse me. That's first-degree murder. Right.
What would be a good example of a second-degree murder?
A second-degree murder is you potentially decided that you were did something for a racially motivated reason. You did something that was a depraved mental state. You did it to be cruel to somebody. You have to show an excess of intent. You don't have to pre-plan it, but there's cruelty and depravity involved in it.
Hey, folks, it has been a great show today. I thank you for listening, and we may do this again next Saturday because it is fascinating. Hey, in the meantime, I want to thank you for listening and your great calls today. I do so much appreciate it. If I may, a suggestion for you, go outdoors and take pleasure in the beauty of nature, and as always, enjoy your friends and family. My name is Tom Olsen. The name of the show is Olsen on Law. You're listening to News 96.5.